Good morning, Crusaders. I'm Aliana, and I'm here with the founder and CEO of Urban Native Era, Joey Montoya, Reardon alum, class of 2012. How are you doing today?
Great, great.
So let's get started with the interview. So can you tell me about your early childhood and what parts of it you carried on with you?
Yeah, well, I grew up in San Francisco, California. I grew up in the Mission District. I don't remember too much of my childhood as far as the details, but I do remember just really being a kid with a lot of ideas and someone who can really envision for a better future in a bit different world. Yeah.
Thank you. How would you describe your Native American experience growing up in general?
Yeah, growing up, being Indigenous and being in San Francisco was definitely a different experience. I'm also mixed Indigenous, so that within itself is really a different experience. For me, I feel like you kind of live between these two different worlds of being, that you kind of have to go in and out of. And so that was kind of difficult for me, but also being rooted in like my culture and rooted in who I am, that also, it was like helpful for me as a kid kind of growing up. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and how has Reardon shaped you in your high school experience?
Yeah, I think a lot of what Reardon did was really kind of provide me with a lot of those tools to really help me in college and help me through life. A lot of stuff that I believe helped me with my brand. And the crazy thing is that after I graduated that same year, I started Urban Native Era, or at least the idea was started. And shortly after that, we really started to establish that as a fashion brand.
So you said in a previous interview that the movement in Canada is what drove you to start this company. What do you remember from that time that really influenced you to say, I really need to do something about this?
Yeah, so during that time in 2012, there was the Prime Minister at the time, Prime Minister Harper, was infringing upon Indigenous people's rights of water and land. And it was around 2012 in November and December. And I remember just like seeing so many people who just kind of had enough, and that's what the movement started to be called. That's what the movement was called. It was called Idle No More. And the Idle No More movement spread all over the place. That you would see a lot of media being shown from like Australia down over here to the Bay Area to different parts of the US, just to really show solidarity to those Indigenous folks that we stand with them. And I think that's what really ignited me to really start Urban Native Era, was that movement kind of showed me that I can do something to continue to spread that awareness, and I wanted to be really heavily involved. So like seeing that movement being pushed out into the world, like I really wanted to stand with them and really push that as well. So that's initially why I started Urban Native Era, was to really spread awareness about Indigenous issues that were happening.
Yeah, and following up to that question, why clothes and why fashion? Yeah,
I think fashion just brings a different aspect. I think it fulfills like my kind of creativity as a person, as a creative person, really putting something into that outlet. But also I feel like it provided a chance for people to feel represented or feel like they can really share about this issue just by wearing a piece of clothing.
What exact message is your brand trying to invoke?
Urban Native Era is a brand meant to increase Indigenous visibility through fashion and design, and also to further connect us in this world that wasn't necessarily designed for us to be in.
And can you walk me through your manufacturing process and your design process?
Yeah, well, manufacturing process looks different overall, but I guess with my design process, I typically just kind of envision or think about an idea or concept and really just trying to find the root of what that means and build off that theme or an idea. And then I'll either sketch it down on a paper or on Adobe Illustrator and really just kind of work with that idea. So for example, The hummingbird is a design we released in 2018, and I really wanted to make it very kind of simple with it. And I think for me as a person and as an indigenous person, it's also how we kind of tell a story with our clothing. So the hummingbird is kind of an ode to the indigenous people from here, or a kind of paying homage to the indigenous people from here. And it builds off of their creation story, which consists of an eagle, coyote, and a hummingbird. But the hummingbird is significant throughout so many different indigenous cultures as well. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of become our symbol. But with that, we kind of take that idea and that concept and we put it onto, whether it's a t-shirt, kind of a normal standard tee, we send it to our manufacturers, and then we just kind of really tell them the details of what we want, the height of the graphic, what do we want it screen printed, with water-based, all these details. And then from there, we get some samples and then, can continue that process. It's a lengthy process though, and it does take some time depending on your manufacturers. And we manufacture in different places. Some are in the States, but also overseas. Mm-hmm. So the overseas process looks not completely different, but just a different process, which takes longer and all that.
One of the significant pieces that your brand has, and the designs that your brand has, is that you are on native land statement. So what does that statement mean to you?
I think it means a lot of things. I initially created that because growing up in San Francisco, you would walk around and not really think about indigenous people who are here. So with that statement, you wear it in San Francisco, you wear it in the different places, throughout the world or throughout the States, and you just remember that indigenous people are still here, and I hope for people to really wear that, to bring up that conversation about land acknowledgement, about land, returning indigenous land, but also what's beyond that. How do we work as a people in general, as all peoples, to really come up with better solutions to help the world and provide a better future for the next generations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then what are some of the biggest achievements that Urban Native Era has had, or even you personally have achieved in the past couple of years?
Yeah, it's been about 12 years since we've officially launched, 11 years that we officially launched Urban Native Era. And I think there's a lot of beautiful moments. I think the most recent moment was we've just launched in REI 2 years ago. So that was a really big achievement to really get that acknowledgement, not only from a big retailer, but also knowing that we can actually be in these stores and actually, just be in these stores as an indigenous-owned brand. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about Reservation Dogs and its significance in the show?
Yeah, we were also featured on, our clothing was featured on Reservation Dogs, on one of the main characters, Willie Jack. And I think Reservation Dogs is something new of its kind, and it's really beautiful for us to be included in that. And I'm really excited that they decided to put one of our hats on one of the main characters. And that really, it's great. I hear stories of people watching the show and wearing the hat while they watch the show, or they see the hat and try to find the brand behind it. So it's been a really great experience to kind of be on that level of visibility, on a TV show.
So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here and telling your story with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, Crusaders. Be sure to be on the lookout on The Shield for a more detailed story of Joey Montoya. Thank you so much for being here again.